My name is Olivia Bennett. And on my wedding day, my billionaire CEO father stood up in front of 300 guests and publicly disowned me. Flushed heartbreak. All because I married a man he called a poor nobody with no future. The ballroom fell silent. My mother cried. My relatives stared. And my father pointed toward the exit and said, "From this moment forward, you're no longer my daughter." I walked out holding my husband's hand, believing I'd lost my family forever. But 6 months later, that same powerful CEO sat across from my poor husband in a boardroom. And for the first time in his life, he was the one begging. My name is Olivia Bennett. I grew up surrounded by wealth, private schools, luxury vacations, designer everything. My father, Richard Bennett, built one of the largest logistics companies in Texas. To the world, he was a brilliant CEO. To me, he was a man obsessed with status. Everything in life had a price tag. Friendships, relationships, respect, even love, especially love. Dad believed successful people only married successful people. Not because of happiness, because of image. Growing up, he often reminded me, "Your last name is worth millions. Never forget it." Unfortunately, I never cared much about money. I cared about people, which is probably why I fell in love with Ethan Walker. I met Ethan at a community volunteer event. No fancy introductions, no luxury parties, no family connections, just two people packing food boxes for struggling families. Ethan was kind, genuinely kind, the kind of man who remembered small details, the kind who stayed late helping strangers, the kind who made people feel important. He worked as an independent software consultant. Nothing flashy, at least that's what everyone believed, including me. When I introduced Ethan to my family, disaster started immediately. Dad barely shook his hand, then spent dinner asking questions that felt more like interrogations. Income, assets, investments. Finally Dad leaned back and said, "So what exactly makes you worthy of my daughter?" The room became painfully quiet. But Ethan smiled calmly. "That's Olivia's decision, sir." Honestly, that answer annoyed Dad even more. Over the next 2 years, things got worse. Dad constantly tried breaking us apart, offering me luxury apartments, introducing wealthy businessmen, even promising company shares if I ended the relationship. I refused every time, because Ethan never made me feel like a business transaction. Then he proposed. Best day of my life. Worst day of Dad's. The moment he heard the news, he exploded. Screaming, threatening, demanding. He even offered Ethan money to disappear. Actual money. A huge amount. Ethan refused immediately, which somehow made Dad hate him even more. The wedding day arrived anyway. Beautiful venue. Perfect weather. Hundreds of guests. Everything felt magical. Until the reception. During speeches, Dad unexpectedly stood up. At first I thought he planned surprising me. Instead he humiliated me publicly. He called Ethan a mistake. A gold digger. A poor opportunist. Then came the sentence I'll never forget. "If you marry him, you are no longer my daughter." People gasped. My mother started crying. I felt completely numb. Then Dad sat down expecting me to beg. Instead, I took Ethan's hand and walked away. That was the last time I spoke to my father for months. The next day he cut me off completely. No inheritance, no trust fund, no financial support, nothing. Friends thought I was terrified. Honestly, I felt free. For the first time in my life, my future belonged to me. Ethan and I moved into a modest apartment. No luxury, no servants, no private drivers, just us. And strangely, I was happier than ever. Meanwhile Dad enjoyed telling people I would come crawling back eventually. He believed financial pressure would destroy us. What he didn't know was that Ethan had never told anyone the full truth about his work. Not even me. You see, while everyone saw Ethan as a freelance consultant, he secretly owned a rapidly growing cybersecurity company. He wasn't hiding it maliciously. He simply hated showing off. His company provided security systems for banks, hospitals, and government contractors. And business was exploding fast. Within months, major investors entered. Contracts multiplied, revenue skyrocketed, the company became worth hundreds of millions. Then one morning, Ethan finally showed me the financial reports. I nearly dropped my coffee. Wait, you're worth how much? He laughed. I didn't think it mattered. That's when I realized why I loved him. Because money genuinely didn't define him. Meanwhile, my father's company faced serious problems. Huge problems. A cyber attack hit one of his logistics networks. Customer information became vulnerable. Major contracts were suddenly at risk. Stock prices started falling. Board members panicked. The company needed elite cybersecurity help immediately. And there was only one firm capable of solving the issue quickly. Ethan's. Ironically. Beautifully ironic. I still remember the day Dad walked into Ethan's office. I happened to be there. The look on his face was unforgettable. Shock, confusion, disbelief. Because the poor nobody now occupied the corner office of a company larger than several of Dad's divisions. For a moment nobody spoke. Then Dad finally said, "Mr. Walker, thank you for meeting me. Mr. Walker, not poor nobody, not gold digger." Interesting how respect appears when circumstances change. Ethan remained professional, calm, polite, exactly like always. Dad explained the crisis, the potential losses, the contracts at risk. Then came the moment nobody expected. My father actually asked, "Can you help us?" The same man who publicly humiliated us now needed help from the person he mocked. Part of me expected Ethan to reject him. Honestly, I would have understood. Instead, Ethan surprised everyone, including me. He said, "We'll review the situation. No anger, no revenge, no arrogance, just professionalism." After the meeting ended, I asked Ethan, "Why help him?" His answer changed me forever. Because integrity isn't something you practice only when it's easy. That sentence explained everything about who he was. Over the next several weeks, Ethan's company helped stabilize Dad's systems. The crisis ended. Millions were saved. The board remained intact. And for the first time in years, Dad started seeing reality clearly. One evening he asked meeting privately. I almost refused, but curiosity won. When I arrived, he looked older somehow. Smaller, less powerful. He stared at his coffee for a long moment before speaking. Then quietly said, "I was wrong." 4 words. Simple, but unbelievably difficult for him. He admitted he judged Ethan based on assumptions. Status, pride, ego, not character. Then his voice cracked, and I almost lost my daughter because of it. For the first time in my life, I saw genuine regret. Not manipulation, not control, regret. Healing wasn't instant. Trust doesn't magically reappear, but slowly, our relationship improved. Carefully, patiently, one conversation at a time. Today, Ethan's company continues growing. Dad occasionally asks him for business advice, which still makes me smile. And every anniversary, I remember standing in that ballroom while my father disowned me publicly. Because what felt like the worst day of my life became the beginning of the best chapter. Sometimes people lose everything trying to protect their pride. And sometimes the person everyone underestimates becomes the one holding all the cards. Never judge someone's worth by their job title, bank account, or social status. Character, integrity, and kindness reveal far more about a person than wealth ever can. And pride has destroyed more relationships than poverty ever will. If this story touched your heart, thumbs up, like this video. Bell subscribe for more emotional stories. Speech balloon comment below. Would you forgive a parent who publicly disowned you because of who you married? Flushed heartbreak.